Tmot, what's going on, sir? Okay, I had another video that was a response to your video on, Kings of Africa or Spirit Checkers, but I want to do another one. I don't like that one. You're spot on with your video, and I'm gonna put it to you like this. Before I did my research on the slave trade, okay, true research, not what they tell you in school, but on your own, and just through talking to other scholars who have spent a great deal of time dealing with slavery and understanding what happened. I had the typical belief that we were kidnapped and we were innocent and we got taken advantage of, and it was just a poor situation. Pretty much we were raped and we were pillaged, okay? And they just took our brothers and our sisters and they kidnapped them in the middle of the night and brought them over here, okay? But when you think about it, you kidnap a child, okay? You kidnap in small quantities. The whole idea of kidnapping and a large population doesn't go hand in hand, okay? Especially when you're factoring in able-bodied men who can make, the Atlantic voyage, whatever they call it. Was it the Middle Passage? Especially if you factor in the men and women who had to be strong enough to make that journey to begin with. So you were taking able-bodied African men and women, okay? So to me, a couple of white dudes on horseback in a country that is not native to them, okay, it's really hard for me to, comprehend that they were able to navigate the lands and, know how to capture them and, secretly escape and, hop on some ship and do this hundreds and thousands of times. No, it makes no sense that way. What happened was you had different tribes warring. Just like any other civilization, you had different tribes and different groups who always beef and have issues over resources or power or whatever. Okay? And instead of killing them off or making them their own slaves, they decided to sell them. Okay? It was a business deal. The Europeans said, hey, we'll give you this for exchange of those that you have conquered. And they said, okay, we will do it. That's how the slave trade business started. Okay? It was a long, fruitful relationship. Now the problem, to be real with you, is we see how slavery benefited white people, okay, and Europeans, but we don't see how it benefited Africans, okay? What happened was whatever wealth or whatever money that was made on the African side wasn't managed properly, okay? Even till today, Africa, we have a big problem with warring tribes. Okay, we are obviously one of the oldest, the oldest continent around. So you have a lot of tribes that have been around each other for a very long time. And one of the key features in terms of all the tribalism in Africa is that we are very self-sufficient. So, which makes us different from other regions simply because the whole need for survival wasn't as dire, okay? So you can be a small tribe and you can continue to be a small tribe, and there's no need to necessarily work with your neighbor or get along with your neighbor because you are self-sufficient. You can feed yourself, you know how to, survive. As opposed to different regions on this earth where we can fight and we'll all die out, but we have to stick together because, resources are very limited. But of course, Africa is very fruitful, okay? Just in terms of the geography, you can study it yourself. You don't have to take my word for it or anybody else's. Just study the geography of Africa compared to other places, okay? So you have a lot of tribalism, okay? A lot of tribalism. So even with all this money being made off of selling those that they conquered into slavery, that was never pooled, okay? Those resources, in my opinion, were never put together, so it was almost squandered away, especially when you factor in colonialism and all that other stuff, it was a factor. It was, squandered away. It was wasted. So you don't really see it. Okay? It's one thing to make money, right? But no one's going to know if you made money if you don't do anything with it. So nothing significant was ever done. Nothing. Okay? So we look like we lost. We look like we came out on a losing end. Hence the whole idea of creating these ideas of Africans being raped and pillaged and, being blindsided by Europeans in terms of the slave trade. But no one would be talking about this if we were like the Americans and the Europeans who actually built something from the slave trade. Now, I'm not trying to put this in a negative or positive way. I'm just speaking on facts. Okay? The Europeans took what they made off the slave trade and made something. The Americans did the same thing. It's neither good or bad. It's just what happened. Okay? It's just reporting facts. All right? But on the African side, like I said, because of, deep tribalism and deep issues, nothing was ever built. Okay? We were just a different type of people. Okay? Europeans and Africans, especially in those times, are very different in terms of lifestyle. We did things differently. The whole idea of, excessive wealth really wasn't part of our diet. Okay, that's not how we operated. We didn't operate on those who have a lot of money versus those who don't. So that money was something brand new to us, in my opinion. And so, of course, it wasn't managed properly, and we didn't really have anything to show. Maybe a couple of kings here and there who had, money, but at the end of the day, most of that was lost when we were colonized. Okay? So, to me, you're spot on. I have nothing more to say at this point, but you're spot on. Okay? If we were so strong, how could this have happened? If we were so innocent and we were taken advantage of, how could you have thousands and, thousands upon thousands of strong, able-bodied Africans, being kidnapped? Being kidnapped. Doesn't make any sense. Logically, it makes no sort of sense. Okay? To me, logic would show that Africans benefited from it. But because we don't have anything to show, okay, and because people don't understand the true tribalism in Africa, that's really, it's almost a negative, okay, in terms of different groups killing and, trying to cleanse themselves of another group, okay, people don't understand what's going on. And, I know I probably lost some people, but, this conversation is really, 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 really long, and there's a lot that goes into it, and it's not an easy conversation to have, because most people want to think of history in terms of who's right and who's wrong, and not in terms of what happened. Who benefited versus who didn't benefit. Okay, who managed what they got versus who didn't manage what they got. So, I'll leave it right here, but once again, spot on. Kudos for doing this video. Take it easy. God bless.